Inside a mall in Lexington, Kentucky, sits a taxidermied black bear. You might know it from a recent Hollywood film that reimagined the animal as a rampaging apex predator, hunting tourists after ingesting a massive amount of lost narcotics. The real bear died in the Georgia woods in 1985. After stumbling upon 40 packages of dumped cocaine, the 175-pound animal consumed the contents and suffered immediate cerebral hemorrhaging and heart failure. That leaves a massive logistical question. How exactly do millions of dollars worth of pure cocaine end up falling out of the sky into a national forest? To find the answer, we have to look 200 miles north, to a driveway in Knoxville, Tennessee. On the morning of September 11, 1985, a dead man was discovered tangled in a parachute. The inventory found on his body was highly specific. He was wearing a bulletproof vest and Gucci loafers, carrying night vision goggles, 2 pistols, knives, $4,500 in cash, and 79 pounds of cocaine. This dead parachutist provides the forensic evidence needed to understand the logistical peak of the 1980s drug conflict. The man in the driveway was Andrew Thornton II. He was born into a privileged Kentucky family that owned a thoroughbred horse farm and educated him at private military academies. He left the University of Kentucky to join the U.S. Army, where he trained as a paratrooper and earned a Purple Heart during the 1965 intervention in the Dominican Republic. After his military discharge, Thornton became a police officer in Lexington, eventually rising to the narcotics squad, where he worked directly on investigations alongside the DEA. Thornton occupied 2 distinct worlds at once. He was the decorated paratrooper and narcotics officer who ended his life as a high-stakes cartel smuggler. This chart shows the volume of U.S. cocaine imports from 1980 to 1985. The supply entering the country was escalating at a rate that completely overwhelmed local law enforcement. This volume was by design. Pablo Eskobear and Medellin cartel took what had been a disorganized smuggling network and engineered it into a highly efficient corporate enterprise. They scaled up production by building massive processing complexes like Tranquilandia. These sites featured airplane workshops, dormitories, and stockpiles of precursor chemicals capable of churning out 20 tons of cocaine every month. The United States government responded to this flood by consolidating its power. In 1982, the FBI and DEA officially joined forces, sharing jurisdiction and significantly expanding their manpower and intelligence resources. Federal agencies deployed multi-jurisdictional task forces and began training state police in aggressive highway interdiction programs to intercept domestic drug couriers. This era became a cycle of tactical escalation, where multi-billion-dollar profits were met with military-grade enforcement. Andrew Thornton utilized his insider knowledge of DEA investigative tactics to build his own smuggling ring, known as the Company. As Thornton grew deeper into the smuggling trade, his habits shifted toward hypervigilance. He began wearing a bulletproof vest daily and staged his own assassination attempt outside a Lexington restaurant to fool a judge into avoiding a prison sentence. To bypass the government's radar networks, Thornton relied on dangerous flight methods. He piloted a twin-engine Cessna at low altitudes, making blind cargo drops in the dark. In September 1985, he was flying a Cessna heavily loaded with cocaine from Colombia. When the plane began burning fuel too quickly, he jettisoned his cargo over northern Georgia, put the plane on autopilot, and made his final jump over Tennessee. His death was the endpoint for a pilot operating at the extreme physical and tactical edge of a tightening federal dragnet. Thornton's fatal fall handed the FBI and DEA exactly what they needed. The highly specific evidence found on his body allowed investigators to pull on the threads of his entire organization. The resulting investigation, known as the Bluegrass Conspiracy, uncovered a sprawling network radiating outward from Thornton. It proved that local Kentucky police and politicians were working directly with South American cartel suppliers. Meanwhile, in Georgia, the bear that consumed Thornton's discarded cargo was undergoing its own post-mortem. The state medical examiner determined the animal's exterior was in remarkably good condition, so he had it taxidermied and donated to a park visitor center. The bear was eventually stolen from that visitor center and landed in a pawn shop. It was purchased by country music star Waylon Jennings, who gifted it to a friend in Las Vegas. From a Vegas mansion, the stuffed bear moved through a Reno auction house and was bought by a Chinese immigrant before ultimately finding its way back to a mall in Lexington, Kentucky. Andrew Thornton and the cocaine bear remain artifacts of the 1980s drug war, an era defined by such chaotic excess that a decorated cop fell from the sky, and an apex predator became bizarre collateral damage.